What's up, you guys? My name is Preston James here at the Laughing Buddha Recording Studio in Los Angeles, California, bringing you another amazing album review. If you tuned in to my previous album review for The Architects, what was the name of the album? The Sky, the Earth, and All Between. I appreciate the love and support. I really, truly do. If you've watched any of my album reviews, I do appreciate the love and support. Something I'm going to do moving forward is I'm going to cut these videos almost in half. Some of them go for 20 minutes to 30 minutes. We're not doing that anymore. We're gonna get to the nitty gritty right off the jump, right off the bat, and dive into the album because, I'm all about the engineers, the producers, and the songwriters. I like to give some background and some context to my album reviews, but I'm also going to try to sum that up as well. Coincidentally enough, actually, the same mixing engineer who worked on Architects' album that I just mentioned and was my previous video is the same engineer that worked on this album. I gave that album, Architects, a 9 out of 10, and we'll see what I give this one, but same engineer. Small world, small business, but that rarely ever happens, right? I don't really listen to albums that have the same engineer back to back. I definitely do, obviously, but just not back-to-back like this. So that was pretty crazy. Thought that was pretty interesting. So without further ado, A Day to Remember, big ol' album, Volume 1. Let's get into it. So I think I speak for a lot of A Day to Remember fans in saying that we've been waiting for an album like this. I was definitely pleased and am very pleased with this album. The last album, which is a follow-up, this album, which was released on 3/21/25, so March 21st, which was this past Friday. This album was a follow-up to 2021's You're Welcome. And for me, the only song that I could really get into and really feel on You're Welcome was Bloodsucker. That was the only one that I really felt did the band justice. It's not that the other songs were bad, but that one was just the one I felt the most. And I will also say I felt the whole album was kind of overdone. There's a lot of things going on. There was different production and engineering approaches. I could definitely hear it. There was a lot there, and I thought it was a little overwhelming to the ear. It wasn't bad in any way. It still sounded good, but it just felt like too much. So this is a follow-up to that album, which again was okay. But this one, oh man, I love this album. I'm also just gonna get into it. I'm also gonna give this album a 9 out of 10. Just like The Architects, this one's a 9 out of 10. And like I said, same engineer. Definitely not a coincidence. Definitely not a coincidence. This album came out, like I said, on Friday, the 21st. We've been waiting for this. They've been hinting at this album since, I think, March or even May of 2024. So almost a year ago, they were hinting at this. They were on tour with, I think, Bring Me the Horizon. Don't quote me on that. But they were on tour mentioning and dropping songs while they were on tour. 1 or 2 songs at the most. But yes, they were hinting at this album. And so there was a lot of buildup, especially because I think a lot of us, the fans, weren't too, I don't want to say happy, but just weren't feeling the previous album as much. So this album released on the record label Fueled by Ramen, which is under Warner Brothers Music or Warner Music Group. This is Fueled by Ramen. So this is founded by John Janik and Vinny Fiorella. John Janik is the CEO of Interscope Records. Coincidentally, or funny enough, is that it's actually right down the street in Santa Monica. But Fueled by Ramen, the record label, was founded in Florida and is now in New York. I don't know. It's just all over the place. But yeah, so that's John Janik. And he's been the CEO since 2014. And then the other fellow is Vinny Fiorello. And Vinny Fiorello is the previous songwriter and drummer for the band, the punk ska band Less Than Jake. Never really got into them, but they were a pretty big deal in the late to mid, maybe even early 90s, to be honest. But I think I saw them live twice because they were at some festival I was going to when I was younger. So before this album and before being on Fueled by Ramen, they were doing their own thing. ADTR what is it? ADTR Records LLC. And those that portion of their career was for Common Courtesy and Bad Vibrations, which Bad Vibrations, I'm going to be honest, is probably my favorite ADTR album, A Day to Remember album. I can't say for sure. I love them all. I really do. Well, that's not true. I love most of them, but that one's pretty close. And this one, this big old album, Vol.1, is pretty fucking good. I'm still getting into it, right? It's only like 3 days into it, but I'm still getting into it, and it's really fucking good. But they were doing their own thing. Common Courtesy, you could tell, was not done in your standard professional big studio. It was missing something. It was missing like girth. It was missing weight. There was something that just wasn't there. It still sounded good, a little raw, a little grungy, which I don't know. I like that album better than this previous one, You're Welcome. But yeah, just was kind of missing something. But then Bad Vibrations, oh man, I listen to that one more than any other album almost. I think I do. So who does the band consist of? The band consists of lead singer Jeremy McKinnon since 2003, Alex Shellnut, he does the drums since 2006, Kevin Scaff, guitar and vocals since 2009, and lastly, but definitely not least, is Neil Westfall, who does guitar and vocals since 2003. So they don't have currently they don't have a bass player that they are solidified with. That's a main member of the band. So they've been working with Bobby Linge, and he has also done some songwriting on here, but he was the previous guitar player for the band Fit for a King. Fit for a King is a Christian metal band out of Texas, and I used to listen to them as well. So I was kind of surprised to hear that they were still doing things, or yeah. Because sometimes in the music industry, it's like these bands that aren't too big and don't make an extended career or extensive career out of music. You wonder what they do. So some of these guys are fortunate enough and they get to kind of branch off into the production side, or they are fill-ins, right? Like this guy does some songwriting with Day to Remember, but he also tours with them sometimes, and I think does some of the studio work, but I'm not 100% sure on that part. But yeah, it's always interesting to see where these members of the bands and these artists go after their music career, right? I don't know, at least for me, I don't like search up what this person is doing, but I do know that some of the bands I've listened to, like they'll end up working at a supermarket after they've been on tour for like 10 years, and then it just kind of falls apart and they spend all their money. But anyways, so before I get into the nitty gritty, like I like to say, the engineers, songwriters, and producers, I want to say that, and if you've watched my videos before, you know that I love and appreciate the most consistency and precision on an album, right? From top to bottom, that vision, having that goal and that vision from the get-go, from the jump, from the start, and seeing it through with the same songwriters, the same producers, and the same engineers, to me, makes a better album. That's one of the reasons why I think the previous album I did the review on, the Architects album, was so good, as well as this album. They stuck with the same people and had a vision from the beginning. And I think they also wanted to but they wanted to redeem themselves for the fans from their last album that didn't do so well. The numbers just weren't that good, and I didn't hear any buzz about it. So I think they wanted to really be consistent and really dive into this and have some people part of the album that they knew they could count on to bring that vision to life, right? That's not an easy task to do, especially when you've been around for a while and you worked with all these different people. You have to ask yourself, what is it that we really want to bring out and give to the fans, and something that we love and are proud of as well. So they have definitely done this for this album, I believe. They've definitely done this. So without further ado, let's get into the songwriters. The songwriters. So they have Cody Quistad, who's worked with Hardy, Wage War, The Ghost Inside. Pull out my little notes right here. He's also worked with Lakeview. Lakeview's dope if you haven't heard Lakeview. Drew Falk, who's worked with Little Peep, Disturbed, NLE Choppa, Kevin Gates, Motionless in White. Jeremy McKinnon, obviously the lead singer, did a lot of the writing, most of the writing for the album. We have Zach Cervini. Zach Cervini mainly produces and does engineering. So when he does some songwriting, I think that's really cool. This guy is really involved and deep in the metal scene, but he's also worked with Lil Uzi Vert. He's worked with Travis Barker, Blink-182, Limp Bizkit, All Time Low. The list goes on. Bring Me the Horizon. Like I said, Architects. He was the engineer for the previous Architects album that I went over. So Zach Cervini is definitely involved in the scene and doing a great job. Seems like he's doing a great job. Trent Dabbs, another songwriter on the album, who's worked with a plethora and an array of types of artists, Casey Musgraves, Matt Kearney, Ingrid Michaelson, just to name a few. Like I said before, Bobby Lynch, the guitar player from Fit for a King. I don't know why I say a Fit for a King. It's Fit for a King. Kevin Scaff, which is the guitar player, but he also did some of the writing on this album. And that shows that everyone that is part of the band is also contributing to the writing as well. I know it gets a little weird with royalties and how that stuff kind of rolls out and plays out. But like I said, with the previous album, with the Architects, when you have members that are all writing and they list all the members that are doing the writing and everyone's contributed to the album, I think that creates sustainability and longevity for the band, which is why some of these bands have lasted for so long, and Day to Remember is no exception. That's why I think they've been able to have such a good, successful, and lucrative and long career and still going, right? But another songwriter on the album, her name is Until the End. I could not find information about this songwriter. They're listed, but I could not find information about them. So if you know anything about this songwriter with the name Until the End, please let me know. Also have Ollie Sykes. Ollie Sykes, he did some songwriting. Well, the song that he worked on, which is the lead singer from Bring Me the Horizon. And I didn't know this, but the Day to Remember and Bring Me the Horizon are pretty close. They're friends. They've toured together multiple times, and they toss ideas back and forth is what I was reading. But and last but not least is Will Putney. Will Putney is usually a producer and engineer as well, but he has co-wrote and helped write some of the songs on this album. Will Putney, I first heard of Will Putney because he did a tutorial, like a mix breakdown for the website Nail the Mix, and he was breaking down the song, what is it called? Mistakes Like Fractures by Knocked Loose. If you haven't heard Knocked Loose, check them out. They are pretty dope as well. But yeah, that's the first time I heard of Will Putney. I keep seeing and hearing his name as well. So he's definitely somebody who's in the metal scene or just in the music scene, but mostly works with like metal and rock bands. But yes, so those are the songwriters for this album. And for the producers, Jeremy McKinnon, the lead singer, Wizard BLD. I could not find any more information on him, although I did find his Instagram, so check that out. WZRD, well, it's listed right here. Wizard BLD, bold. And Andrew Wade and Colin Britton. Now these two, Andrew Wade and Colin Britton, they're only on one song, which is called Miracle, but I'm going to get into them in a second because they are actually, as well as doing the producing, they are recording engineers. They are also the recording engineers. So Andrew Wade is known, and he's worked with Motionless in White, Wage War, Neck Deep, and he also worked on most of their albums and helped record most of their albums since Homesick. And Homesick, that's another one. Homesick is a really good album as well. I think that's the one that really kind of brought them to the forefront of the metal scene. And not even just the metal scene, but like the pop rock scene as well. And then Colin Britton, this dude's worked with MGK, Papa Roach, 5 Seconds of Summer, Linkin Park's newest album. I saw that. If you haven't heard Linkin Park's newest album with Emily Armstrong, who is from the band Dead Sarah, it's actually better than I thought it would be. I hear the similarities with Chester Bennington's voice. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but I definitely hear that kind of same tone-ish. But it's a lot better than I thought. So check that out if you get a chance. But Colin Britton's also worked with All Time Low and even the Jonas Brothers. So, but they like I said, they helped produce the song Miracle, and they also did the recording. So my favorite part of this, right? My favorite part, coming up from my favorite part is the mixing engineers. It's only one. Zach Cervini. Like I said, this dude did the previous album that I did the album review on for The Architects, but he's worked with Bring Me the Horizon, MGK, Machine Gun Kelly, All Time Low, 5 Seconds of Summer, Grimes, Blink-182, Little Uzi Vert, and the list goes on. And if you haven't been able to tell this far into the video that a lot of these people, these bands, these engineers, producers, and songwriters, they all work together. So this is one of the reasons why it's so hard for people like me to make my way into the industry, is because everyone just kind of sticks to who they know, and you have to know somebody to get in the door, right? So I would have to have worked with Zach Cervini for some time, and for him to be like, oh, here's my boy Preston, you should use him. And then that's kind of how you get your foot in the door. Because I get it. You create this consistency with engineers that you know and trust, and you get this solid sound that you like and know that they can deliver. So I totally understand that, but it just makes it hard for people like us. But definitely understand it. But yes, so one mixing engineer, he mixed the whole album, Zach Cervini, doing his thing again. And actually, fun fact is that he got his start. He came out here to LA from, I think, the East Coast. I want to say Jersey or New York, but he came out here and then got his big break by working on the 2012 album, which I don't know the name of, by the band The Amity Affliction, which I do remember hearing some of their stuff, and I did like them in the 2000s, early 2000s. But he works here in LA-ish. He works in Burbank at MDDN Studios, which I then found out was Madden Studios. And I was like, MDDN Studios, Madden Studios. I was like, what is that? And I was like, Benji and Benji Madden. And I think Joel, him and his brother run it. So Benji's the CEO, Benji Madden, who is part of Good Charlotte and is also married to Cameron Diaz. That's his studio. They do things like recording, mixing, mastering, production, artist management, overall management, artist creativity pathways, and overall development. So MDDN Studios, or Madden Studios here in Burbank, is where Zach Cervini primarily works out of or works from. So that was kind of cool. But and if you want to check out them out, I looked at them. They got bands like Ava Max, Bad Omens, Good Charlotte, Zeph, Charlie Hansen, and Chase Atlantic, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, check them out if you want to. But last but not least, we're getting to the final engineer, which is the mastering engineer. And this guy's name is Ted Jensen. Please check him out. This guy has been in the game for a very long time. He went back, what was it? I went back and it was the song this song that he did, or album that he worked on, is said to be one of the best mixed and mastered albums of all time. And that comes from Isotope Instruments. Isotope is like a very well-known software and instrument development company in the music industry, Isotope. And they have this article that talks about how they've interviewed different audio professionals and experts in the field, and they review certain albums as the best mixed and mastered of all time. And Ted Jensen is on, what is the name of this one? It's a Grace Jones album. I forget the name of the album, but Grace Jones. So if you get a chance, go back and listen to Ted Jensen on Grace Jones's album. It sounds, I don't know if you guys are going to hear what I hear. You won't hear what I hear. Obviously, nobody hears the same thing. It's just slightly different. But it's amazing. It's considered, like I said, by these people as some of the best mixing and mastering of all time. So please check that out. But he has also worked with bands like Machine Head, Helmet, Three Doors Down, Green Day, Santana, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Slipknot, it's Owl City, and the list goes on and on and on. And I'm telling you, this dude has worked with everybody. So the fact that he worked on this album for A Day to Remember was really cool. That's all to say that you have this professionalism behind him, which gives it that finished, polished industry sound. and it sounds amazing. That's one of the reasons it sounds amazing. That's why we do these videos. That's why I do this video, to talk about people like Ted Jensen and Zach Cervini, the people behind the scenes who really bring the album together. They glue it together. They give it that final touch, that push, that sound, the loudness, the clarity, the uniqueness, the grit, the punch, all those things that we come to love about the music we listen to, but aren't really sure what it is. And you're not necessarily supposed to, you're just supposed to feel it. That's one of the things I do, and I know other engineers do, is like when we're mixing in the bass or an 808 for a song, it's not necessarily you want to hear it, you want to feel it. You want to feel the bass. Like it'll poke its head through when it needs to, but you just want to feel the bass, and then you can kind of fine tune it from there. But these people are responsible for that. Obviously the songwriters and the band themselves, but just making that song or that music come to life as a recorded, finished product. So that's it for A Day to Remember, Big Ol' Album Volume 1. I am not sure when Big Ol' Album Volume 2 is going to be dropping, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. Like I said, this album for me is a 9 out of 10. Been waiting for this type of album from them for a while, since Bad Vibrations. Because Bad Vibrations, there was like a big break, and then when everyone was waiting for the next album, You're Welcome came out, and then I think we were all kind of disappointed-ish, right? I don't know the right word to use, but this was it. This is what we were waiting for. So congrats, great job. You guys fucking killed it. A Day to Remember, fucking bringing that shit to you, to your face, getting it. So thank you as always for tuning in. I appreciate you guys, appreciate the love. Please release your music and content. Please release your videos. Life is short. If you want to, I would really appreciate some more support. Please, I run a podcast and do a podcast called The Reflection. It's on all podcast streaming platforms, as well as on YouTube at The Reflection_PJ. But we talk about just fulfilling your dreams, going after the things that you want in life, and being consistent, being positive, staying positive, surrounding yourself with positive people, exiting those negative people that kind of doubt you and bring that fear out, like, oh, you're not capable of doing that, or kind of give you that weird look when you want to do something that's out of the ordinary, out of the pocket for them. And it's like, those people are toxic. Those people are negative. I work with people like that. They're awful. And so I try to sidestep those people all the time. But the podcast talks about how to deal with that kind of shit and just maintaining your goal, your vision, your path, your fate, your love, your journey. That's your life. That's your life. Fuck everybody else, right? Keep the people around you that support and love you. But please release your music, release your content. Life is short. Just get it out there. And you know what we like to say? Do what you got to do to get to where you want to be, so you can do what you want to do. Again, do what you got to do to get to where you want to be, so you can do what you want to do. All right, guys. Until next time. All right.